a virus, a midterm election, and coming right up, the mother of all backflips. But before we get to that, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Thanks. Anyway, I'm Steve Green with Bill Whittle and Scott Ott, and this is Right Angle, brought to you by the members of BillWhittle.com. Gentlemen, I have been witnessing over the last few days, and I think we've all been witnessing this over the last few days, but not everybody has noticed it. The mother of all backflips. This is the triple Lindy of backflips. This is Rodney Dangerfield being told while he's on that high dive to hold somebody's beer. And the somebody in this instance is all the lefties and COVID panic mongers out there who are suddenly reversing course on masks. Let me give you some examples here. Scott, we're going to start with you. CNN's medical expert, Dr. Wen, I just forgot her first name, says the science has changed.
Who? Wen?
Dr. Wen, W-E-N. Oh, you mean CNN?
No, I say when you said when, I said who, but go ahead.
Oh, it's right over my head today. I'm a little slow. I need one more coffee. She says that the science has changed, that actually you don't need masks after all. My coworker at PJ Media, Stacey Lennox, noted that it wasn't that long ago when suggesting making the lives of the unvaccinated painful and requiring N95 masks for children. So this is something of a change. Governor Murphy is lifting mask mandates in New Jersey schools. California has lifted the indoor mask mandate for the vaccinated. Massachusetts Governor Baker hints at the end of school mask requirements. These are all headlines from the last couple of days that I pulled up. And Scott, I can't help noticing that other people are noticing how well things are going in states like Florida and your state of Texas. And they're also looking at that little date coming up on the first Tuesday in November. Do you think we've got the left kind of in panic mode over their own panic mongering?
Well, Steve, I think these are completely unrelated stories, and just the negative, cynical way that you try to link them together just shows what kind of a person you are. These
thoughtful, observant, correct.
Well, that yes, but actually, I take a different perspective on these things, because when I see the other side doing what I want them to do, then all is forgiven for what you did before. Go do it. Do the right thing now. You know, keep moving. And it's okay. Like, it doesn't profit me anything now to go, hey, I told you so, because really I just want them to move in the direction that I'd like them to move. So if you're already going that way, keep going that way. Good job. And frankly, I think it's a great lesson for people on the left, especially Democrats in general, to be able to look and say, hey, you know, this kind of idea of a dispersed republic actually can work if we take the lessons that are learned in different places as different states go their own way to approach different problems, and we take those lessons and apply them then to our own local situation in our own states. And so that's exactly how it's supposed to work. Apparently, it's starting to work that way. May have taken longer than I would have liked, but thank goodness for that. And congratulations to our Democrat friends for moving along in that direction.
Here's where I'm going to have to disagree with you. Usually I try and stick with my one of my favorite sayings, which is never interrupt somebody when they're busy talking their way over to your position. There are other times where the correct thing to do is a little happy dance while saying, I told you so, I told you so, I told you so, I told you so. And this is one of those times, because I don't believe that many of these backflipping Democrats ever believed in these things. It was simply an excuse to exercise, exert, and try and maintain political control that no elected official or unelected official anywhere should ever have. And now that they've been caught with their pants down with their hand in the cookie jar, and isn't that an unpleasant image, they're backing up with really nothing for to credit them, except they're scared of what voters are going to do to them in November. Speaking of which, Bill, a guy who is in no danger of losing an election, Ted Lieu, just one of the looniest loons in all of Congress. I don't know if you follow him on Twitter, but man, this guy, I love how crazy American Congress critters are, and he's just maybe the craziest. But he said, with the rapid decline of Omicron, pandemic restrictions will be lifted sooner rather than later. In considering when to do so, health officials must factor in natural immunity, which of course was a big no-no up until about last week, and not just vaccination rates. Bill, I think maybe even more than the election, it might be something happening outside of the United States that has even American politicians spooked, and it has to do with a whole lot of trucks and truck drivers up in Canada.
Yeah, I get that sense too. I absolutely do get that sense. I think that they are absolutely terrified. I know Justin Trudeau is, and he should be terrified after the things he said about the people and terrorizing their communities and stealing from the homeless and all the rest of the lies he told. Here's what I find interesting about this, Steve. You mentioned in the question to Scott, this is the term that we're going to be hearing as they begin this pivot. And by the way, can we just be clear on this? Prior to this change in opinion about the masks, they said everybody must wear masks in order to gain more power. Now they're saying it's probably okay if you don't wear masks in order to gain more power. Right? That's what we're talking about. We're talking about them now switching their position so that they have a chance of being reelected so that they can tell people what to do in the future. Right? That's the reason why the science has changed, is because the science is prior to the midterm elections, the science is telling us we get to tell people what to do. And now we're going to change what the science is telling us so that we all don't get thrown out of office for telling people what to do. And hopefully we'll be able to survive long enough so we can get reelected so that we can tell people what to do. But here's what's interesting about this. The science has changed. That's going to be their official position. And since they basically have taken science like an advertising brand and put like science like, TM on the top. Okay, here's what's interesting though. The science may have changed, but the data hasn't. The data hasn't changed. And this is the thing I keep coming back to again and again and again and again and again and again and again in this whole entire 2-year-long catastrophe. The data hasn't changed. And by the end of the first 30 days of this on the Coronasphere Lounge, which would have been April 18th of 2020, not last year, 2020, 2 years ago almost, everything that the data was showing turned out to be true. Everything. That it came from a lab, that these vitamin supplements were effective, that all of it, it all was true, all of it. It's been true for 2 years. The data hasn't changed. What's changed has been the official narrative, and the narrative has been branded as science, and so now the science has changed. It's a shame to see that brand go the same way as, Pop-Tarts and all the other tragedies we've talked about in New Coke, because science used to actually mean something. But now science is a term that is applied to what the ruling party is telling you is the truth. And that may or may not coincide with the data, but clearly the data hasn't changed and the science has. So it's not really science, is it? Because science is based on data. That's what science is.
Indeed. Folks, I really only have one thing to say to wrap this up, so this will be very brief, and you're welcome for that. Usually I'm a pretty easygoing guy, but we have witnessed over the last 2 years in this country the largest and most destructive seizure of political power since Woodrow Wilson during World War I. It's just inexcusable. So come November, and for a lot of Novembers after this, I'm not going to forget, and I'm not going to forgive, and I hope you won't either. That's your right angle on that, brought to you by the members of BillWhittle.com. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.